All right, everybody, welcome back to Flippin' Friday, aka Flippin' Friday episode numero tres. Today's build, I only paid $520 for the entire thing, but we're focusing on profit margins today because the profit margins of this one are actually kind of ridiculous. So sit back, relax, try to enjoy this episode. And first we're gonna queue up the building montage like we always do. And then we'll talk about the performance parts a little bit before we get into the build process. But just like always, everything that we talk about today is linked down in the description. Hopefully you enjoyed that build montage. Let's get into just the performance parts for just a second. And I absolutely need to kick things off with this RAM deal. This is the Corsair Vengeance LPX. It's only clocked at 2933 megahertz, which is still okay for a Ryzen build. However, it's 16 gigabytes and I only paid $19 for this. $19 for 16 gigabytes of RAM is absolutely obnoxious, and that instantly increases your profit margin by like 20, 30, maybe even $40, depending on how much you sell everything else for. Shout out to K9 in the ZTT Discord server for pinging me on this. This was just sitting up on Mercari and I happened to snipe it very quickly thanks to K9. So you guys could definitely repeat these kind of deals for yourself if you're stalking Mercari like K9 is. And the other part that I sniped off Mercari is this CPU and motherboard combo, which is how I've been starting a lot of these budget builds lately. Highly recommend searching for a first or second generation Ryzen CPU and motherboard combo like this. This is the Gigabyte B450M DS3H, and it came with a Ryzen 5 2600, which of course is 6 cores and 12 threads, perfect for any budget or mid-range gaming PC. I paid just $130 for this entire combo. Such a good price to performance value here. And then for the other two performance parts, of course, you guys want to see the graphics card. This is the EVGA GTX 970. Bought this off Mercari for $180, which is the very, very typical price for a GTX 970 on Mercari right now. And then shout out to Flippin' Friday episode numero dos. This is again the Clev Crass 512 gigabyte NVMe SSD. Still don't really know the reliability of this thing, but since I paid a stupid low amount of money of like $42 or so, we gotta put these in as many flips as we possibly can. So hopefully you're as excited as I am. That is an excellent start with just those performance parts. Let's start finally building this PC, but first, let's quickly pay some bills with a pre-roll ad.
GVG Mall is not just the sponsor of today's video, but it's literally the exact website that I personally use to activate my Windows 10 on almost every single PC that I build here in the studio. For the month of November, GVG Mall is bumping up our original 18% off discount code all the way up to 30% off if you use code ZTT18. That's an incredible deal for you guys, so big thanks to them for that. Please don't be one of those PC flippers that has to explain in the description of your post what an unactivated version of Windows 10 is. Just pay the tiny price tag on GVG Mall, way cheaper than retail by the way, activate every single one of your builds, and reap the benefits in your flipping business. Don't forget to use discount code ZTT18.
Our motherboard is almost prepped. However, this CPU and motherboard combo did not actually come with a CPU cooler, so I'm just gonna be using one of these AMD Wraith stock coolers here. Most PC flippers are gonna have a ton of these on hand. This one does actually have thermal paste already applied, just so you guys know. If you don't already have one of these, you'll just have to add about $10 to $15 to your build total. And just like that, our motherboard is prepped and ready to go. Now we have to prep our power supply. And because our case has a PSU cut out. Of course, we got some vinyl wrap here, and I'm actually using a color scheme that I've never used before, but I'm pairing this carbon fiber vinyl with these cable extensions, and oh my goodness, this is such a nice color combination. Hopefully the entire build comes together aesthetically. I think we're off to a good start. So usually at this point in the video, I'm recording like just some real easy shots of me installing the cable combs on these cable extensions. These don't seem like they're terrible quality, but it's so painful trying to get these cable combs installed on here. I'm putting every single ounce of muscle that I have to get these on the cable combs. It's not the end of the world, like I said, but oh my God, these are a real pain in the butt. So taking another page out of Flippin' Friday episode numero dos, this is a very similar GTX 970 that we used in that episode, and we have two 6-pin connectors. So we're gonna have to cut our custom cable combs to accommodate 12 cables on here. And then for cable combs, or for cable extensions like this, they only come with 2 sets of 6+2. So what we'll have to do is just take those 2 extra and just bend them, and then we'll tuck this section into the PSU basement. So we'll be left like this with 2 6-pin connectors with a nice custom cable comb to connect both of them together. All right, so the motherboard and now finally the power supply is prepped and ready to go inside of our case. My fingers are legitimately fried. They're exhausted from installing these cable combs. I don't think I've ever installed cable combs this difficult, but I think it's gonna be worth it because remember, aesthetics over everything. I just opened up our case, which is the Thermaltake Versa H18. I've actually never used this before, but a lot of the exclusives in the ZTT Discord server were telling me to use it. I really liked it because it has a blue RGB LED going here. I'm pretty sure it can only be blue, which is the reason why I have this blue color scheme going. But after removing the back panel, I noticed that LED is controlled by Molex, so we are indeed not done prepping the power supply. I need to add a Molex connector to it, unfortunately. So now it's time to cable manage, and I want to keep you guys updated. I'm actually trying to take my cable management up just a couple notches. Definitely not interested in getting those like ridiculous, super clean Instagram photos of cable management in the back, but since we are shipping these builds on the ZTT website, we're having a couple issues where the cables are coming loose during shipping. So I believe a little bit better of cable management is going to go a long way. So that's what it's looking like before we install our up here RGB fans. I usually cable manage like this before installing the fans and then just adding the wires from the fans to whatever cable routes that I already established. I find it usually too hard to cable manage all of it all at one time, especially when you're adding a bunch of fans in, just because these add a ton of cables. So this is what it looks like before the fans. Pretty impressed if I do say so myself. All right, guys, so that's going to hopefully wrap up the build process. Let's turn this thing on and see what it... Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, it even came with the blue light already selected. This is, oh my goodness, this is literally exactly what I was hoping it would look like. That PSU vinyl and cable extensions is just absolutely on point. Oh, that is so beautiful. All right, let's do a couple glamour shots of this build before wrapping up this video. Whew. All right, guys, so this is what the final parts list is looking like. Like I said in the intro, this only cost me $520. And because we got those really solid deals on the RAM and that CPU motherboard combo, along with just the GPU shortage in general, I'm gonna try to sell this for $750, which is going to equate to a $230 profit, which is absolutely huge for a budget build like this. I am super happy with how this turned out. $750 isn't the 100% most meta price to performance with a GTX 970 and Ryzen 5 2600, but I think we can get away with it because of the GPU shortage, like I said, and the aesthetics once again in this build are just absolutely dialed in. And then just like Flippin' Friday episode numero dos, I had Sam whip up a quick benchmarking run in 1080p. Once again, this is the Ryzen 5 2600 and GTX 970 benchmarks. We should have 9 games plus 3D Mark Time Spy. But yeah, that is going to wrap up Flippin' Friday episode numero tres. Like I said, links to everything that we talked about today are down in the description. Also, let me know in the comment section what you think of the aesthetics of that guy. Super happy with how this turned out. But hopefully you guys have a great rest of your Friday and have a great weekend. Thank you very much for watching Flippin' Friday.